Welcome to this edition of Arts 24. I'm Charli James. It started as a joke in a comic strip before becoming one of the most famous measures of gender representation in film. The Bechdel Test poses a simple question. Do two women talk to each other about anything other than a man in this movie? Now its creator, the acclaimed American cartoonist Alison Bechdel, has joined forces with French critic Iris Brey to revisit the real story behind the rule in their new essay, Véritable Histoire du test de Bechdel, which translates to the true story of the Bechdel test. And Alison Bechdel herself joins us in studio here today to talk about it. Hi there, Alison.
Hi, Charli.
Thanks so much for being here.
I'm very happy to be here.
So this essay, it follows the Bechdel test's journey from this 1980s comic strip to this kind of global benchmark that really took on a life of its own. Why did you think it was important to revisit the story behind the test today?
It's what's funny is that many people have heard of the Bechdel test, but they have no idea that it's connected to an actual person.
That was me. I was one of those people.
Yeah, I meet people every day who say that. And so it's an attempt to link the popularity of the test to my actual work so people know who I am and what I do.
Okay, great. Well, for people who maybe aren't as familiar with the origins of the test and the original work, the rule follows two women talking about whether to see a movie. And one says she only watches films that have three things. Two women talking to each other about something other than a man. She laments that this greatly limits her options, and they end up going home to eat popcorn instead. So you've said before, and the essay discusses, that this really started as a joke, but as the Bechdel test has gotten more famous, the humor's really been stripped out of it. Why do you think that is?
Well, yeah, this originated, I actually stole the idea, I have to confess. A friend of mine told me this whole thing like the day before I put it into my comic strip. I had a deadline, I had no ideas, so I used this story that my friend Liz had just told me about what movies she will and won't see. I just thought it was really funny. She told a small group of us, a small group of lesbians, and in the 1980s, it was just a sort of humor that lesbian feminists shared among themselves. It never, if you had told me then what would have come of it, I would have been amazed. I would not have believed it. So I stole the idea. It was a joke. It was just supposed to be amusing. And yeah, now it's somehow made its way into the mainstream in this kind of more serious way, losing the original context, of a cartoon that's supposed to be funny. Now they've just taken the criteria out of the test and made it into this metric.
Right, because a lot of times now it's used as a way to say, this is a good film or a bad film, but that's not really what you intended.
It was never my intention, no. Although I think it's a useful guide, it's a very useful way to think about movies. Are they well written? Do they fully realize their female characters? It's a pretty simple idea.
Believe it or not, we do talk about things other than men in real life.
Know.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Now, I'm very interested in how you and Iris Brey, who's quite famous here in France, how you two connected, collaborated on this, and why you decided to do it in French.
It was my French publisher's idea, and they reached out to Iris to see if they know her work. I honestly, I must confess, I did not know her work. But then Iris and I spoke. She asked me questions, and then she mostly wrote it with a few quotes from me.
Are there plans for an English version?
Not as far as I know,
Okay.
no.
Well, maybe we can try to petition to change that as well. She traces, I found it really interesting in the essay that it traces the Bechdel test kind of back into literary history, connecting it to Virginia Woolf in a room of one's own. Was that something that you had thought about before this essay?
Yes. Virginia Woolf, in that hilarious essay, outlines many of the same ideas. And interestingly, she also frames it in a lesbian context. In a room of one's own, she's talking about two women who are not just friends, but have a love interest between them. And I think there's something to that. I think that this idea emerges in a lesbian context for Virginia Woolf and for me because lesbians are not thinking about men. You know, they're free to talk about whatever they want. So it's just more likely that lesbians would come up with this idea.
Right. And the essay suggests as well that this was an idea that circulated within lesbian communities for a long time before it kind of broke out into the mainstream. Why do you think that once it did break through, it was such a strong phenomenon?
I mean, it's surprising when you think about it. It gives people a little jolt to realize, oh, half the world is not being properly represented. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. So it's just a very convenient way to describe a sort of complex, political concept.
Now, like I said, I was one of those people who heard about the Bechdel test before I knew your work. This was probably 20 years ago. But I just assumed, it's probably a scientist or a researcher who came up with this idea. It's a small club, but if you think about it, like the Eiffel Tower is more famous than Gustave Eiffel,
right.
I see,
right.
also. But it still must feel strange to have your name kind of co-opted.
Yeah. It has felt very strange, and I've struggled to come to terms with it, but now I'm good.
Okay, do you have people who are like, oh, Bechdel, like the Bechdel?
Yeah,
that happens all the time.
People say that.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm her.
Yeah, that's me. I do want to ask one question about Fun Home. It's been 20 years since your graphic novel was published, hugely popular. It's a memoir. It became a very award-winning musical as well. When you look at the themes that this book explores, gender identity, queer identity, family secrets, silence, how do you feel like in the last 20 years, or do you feel like the world has caught up or changed enough?
Well, I mean, the book came out at what now looks to me like a sort of pinnacle of progress for LGBTQ people. Obviously, at the moment, things are looking much worse, which is ironic to me because the book is about the difference between my father's generation. The book is about my closeted gay father's suicide. And he couldn't see a way to live openly as his true self. Whereas I came of age after the gay liberation movement of the 1960s. I was able to come out, able to have a life and be open. And that was the story of the book to me, like the tragedy of life before liberation. And now we're moving back toward that dark, repressive time again. So it's quite sobering to me.
Like we've seen a sort of reopening of the debates. I mean, here in France as well, but especially in the U.S., debates around representation, queer visibility, gender. You've tackled Trump's negative impact on the queer community in your work. It's obviously a very painful thing for so many people. How do you balance and how do you still use humor amidst that pain?
Well, I just try. This is my only skill is making cartoons. So I'm going to try and use it to resist Trump. My latest book is very much about a group of friends building community, connecting with each other, doing important political work together. And I mean, that's the answer, as far as I know, is just for people to build that kind of solidarity together.
What do you hear from people, and what concerns you the most about what's happening in the U.S. right now?
Well, the violence. 2 protesters were just murdered in January, which is especially moving to me because that happened in the city of Minneapolis, where I was actually living when I was writing my early comics and invented some of the characters who appear in my latest book. And any one of those characters or the real friends I had in Minneapolis would have done what Renee Good or Alex Preddy did, which was to confront these thugs. And then they would have been murdered. So it's all very immediate. I feel somewhat in shock all the time. I've been in shock for probably 10 years now. But I'm trying to do what I can.
And you've brought your comic strip out of retirement at times or your syndicated columns out of retirement at times to tackle these issues. Like, are you trying to give people hope? Are you trying to push people to some kind of action? What is your goal with?
Both of those. I think definitely it's important for us all to have hope, because otherwise what? We just give up. And I feel like it's very important to try and move people to action. The people who have traditionally read my work are already activists. They're already out there. And the trick now is to reach a broader swath of people. If all of these people can talk to their family, their friends, and get them out in the streets, then we have some hope.
Last question for you. Do you think that American politics, now or ever, has passed the Bechdel test?
Very good question. Increasingly, in recent years, it has, but politics is such a chaotic mess right now. There's not any real conversation happening. There's two sides that don't speak. They're not seeing the same world. They're not having the same conversation.
So it's very hard to pass the Bechdel test if you're not even on the same page.
Yeah.
Alison Bechdel, you're an icon. You're the moment, as the kids say these days. Really appreciate you coming and joining us here on France 24. Alison and Iris's essay, La Véritable Histoire du Test de Bechdel, is available in French bookstores now, and be sure to check out all their other great work in both English and French. And we'll see you next time on Arts 24.